to be explained. This breaks all the known world of plasma physics, all the knowledge in the present world of physics. But you all can relate to it, you can all understand it, and in the years to come, the world of physics and physicists and plasma physicists will bash their head against each other. How could it be? But you have a reference. I will explain to you now how you can understand it. In the world of present physics, we consider a neutron. In the present world of physics, we have accepted the theoretical basis. This neutron, on its decay, it divides into a proton and electron. We know at the same time some energy is released. There's a huge question mark in the theoretical application of this division. The structure of the technology of understanding of the physics has to be on reality, not on assumption. It has to be on totality. It has to be continuous, that it can be followed and be acceptable. It has to be on the basis that we can go from one line to another. It has to be on the basis that we can replicate it. We can follow it and find replication of it. It has to be on the basis that not only the present science can understand, but becomes a foundation for the next generation of the physics or any other subject. In the present world of physics, there has been huge assumptions, and we have followed it through. We cannot do so anymore. We cannot understand what the difference shall be. One of the main problems with us and with this line of teaching has been that the science and understanding of present science has created a fundamental flaw that we have to put it right. In the nuclear physics, we have accepted the division of a neutron. We have accepted loss of some energy. We have not understood exactly, again, what is inside this thing. We assumed that a neutron is a plasma like this. If we look in what we have learned, and if we go in the depth of what we have learned from the creation of rotating plasmas, from the interaction of the soul of the man, we come to a new understanding. This is where the division in the world of plasma physics brings a lot of reality in the creation of new technology. Understanding both, we have to accept the reality. And that is, a neutron itself has a central field force, what we call the black hole of the neutron, where the field forces have to be to hold on to the structure of the neutron itself. So if you understand this, we come to a totally new physics, a new understanding, and this new phenomenon understanding gives us a very new insight. And then in the space technology, we can apply this. In fact, what happens, what we see to become an electron is the mother, the seed center of the neutron. It's this which breaks through and then on its own takes its place. That's why what you call in the present physics, one is smaller by dimension, but it can keep constant space and position from the center, where the bigger carries the major mass, but the smaller carries the stronger mass. So what we come to understand, the field forces come back together. So in fact, what we see for the creation of electron is the center point of the neutron, which is itself in what we call in the plasma of physics up to now, and what we saw in the construction of the soul of the man to be the center point, which as finds its new dimension in respect to its environment, then it releases itself and it divides. If you go back to the soul of the man, why the soul of the man leaves the body of the man at the point of death is because exactly what we see in neutron. The field forces around it to hold it lose their strength because the blood vessels around the brain lose the heartbeat. And that heartbeat changes the condition within the brain and allows the division or the center to release itself. This is in line exactly what we see in the world of neutron and soul of the man from the physicality of the man. There are 2 points which has to be understood. Does this soul itself become the center of creation of another? Now we understand more. Now we understand that for now that we understand the operation of the plasma and the soul and the structure of the cores which you have made, the single core cannot be any different with the GANS material inside it, which is the essence of the creation, any different than what we see in the world of reality, in the world of plasma physics, as we have understood and we can show. One of the reasons, as I explained, is most fundamental for us to understand that the soul leaves the body of the man when the heart stops, is that because the environmental pressure of the gravitational magnetic field, which is holding and feeding, is not there anymore. So the soul has to find a new position, a new division. This is why in the new knowledge and with the new technology and photographic systems we have, we can see the departure of the soul of the man from the brain of the man, from the head of the man through his brain continuously. In a coming time, we can indicate exactly when to call a physical body a non-functional, or we say it has ceased to live on this dimension. This is important because in this process, we need to be able to understand the totality. We went from the matter, we created the GANS, we created the magnetic gravitational field, we created the condition that fields in liquid condition of the body of a reactor, creating the hollow center, which is the control of the totality as it creates gravitational magnetical field positioning. Then we understand simply, but we could never define what was inside which came to the division. Now for the first time we can explain. We are going more in depth into the plasma physics. If you look in the totality of what we had, in simplicity, now we can go a step further in the total construction of the neutron. If a neutron leads to a proton and electron, so electron should have had its own existence prior to departure. How come they're all the same size? How come they have the same strength? For 40 years, I knew the answer. But now as I've educated you, you know the answer too. In fact, what sits in the middle as what we call the soul, which is itself totally a strong field, becomes the electron. What we see as the fields of energy which comes out is the opening of the passage of the truth for electron to be. Now the whole process has to redo itself and find itself a new balance. So shall electron find its own center again, till the time comes that the field energies of around will change. Now the world of physics needs addition to its present knowledge. The source of it. We just don't accept the neutron and the proton divides, and then they divide again, and then they divide again. So with the new present physics, and with what we add to the knowledge, it becomes essential for us to see the similarities, to see the work, to see the reality in the totality of the knowledge. So from now on, we add a new chapter to nuclear plasma technology. And that is, now we know every time a division comes is when the environmental conditions around change or absorb, and in that process, the center, the pressures which hold together the ganses of the matter strength fields changes. So it gives a more powerful center a chance to be released. It forces it to be released because it cannot hold to the condition which it had before. A new understanding where at this point now this new center has to create balance between its fields, and it was with the others he started creating his own central field forces. These are essential if we travel into the space through time and through depth of the space. What does this give you? How can you apply this? How can you use this in the space technology that allows you to travel with the speeds beyond the imagination of the human race? This is how this universe was created. This is how, when the central point of the unicos, of another neutron, another universe divided, the place in them is taken place, and we see our universe. The same here. This one is an amalgamation. So it does not have that much power to it, but it has a volume to it, where this one has a speed, this one has conjecture, this one, if understood, becomes the new way to travel at a higher speed with a higher strength. Where, in fact, if you look, the field forces of this, in trying to establish the next sphere, push the material at the highest speed. If man understands this, if man comes to comprehend the work of the forces, as you call the soul of the man with the body of the man, and the trajectory of the soul from the body of the man, which is exactly the same as if you had a craft, you could clear field forces within the center, that by change of the fields, you change variation on the atmospheric condition or boundary condition of the fields you have created, man will be trajectoried into the deep space in the speeds beyond imagination of the man. It's you who dictates the direction of the flow. It's you who decides the speed of the trajectory. This is how in the space you can send packages of energy, information, whatever, from an aircraft, from what I call a spaceship. If you release such energy in the depth of the space, now you can see the weapon technology of today is obsolete. If man understands this knowledge, one can release so much energy within the structure of a neutron that can literally supply nations for centuries. Don't forget, we talk about one nation, one planet. You may understand the implication and understanding. There are a number of these resources in the universe which man has not understood to tap into yet. Now with the knowledge we have disclosed, it should be easy in the coming time for man to tap into these universal energy resources and be able to produce or receive as much energy as he needs. Very much we come to the point of development of, instead of nuclear reactors or whatever, we come to the point of delivery of the space energy systems, which means we can absorb with a new technology the energies of the universe and then tap into this. The resources and the understanding has to be there. The totality of the knowledge has to be there that you can relate to, that you can go further. First time we can explain, that is the center of neutron itself. As you look at the structure of the cores, rotating cores, which they have a center, and the fields, and then you have the matter state or the Ganser state. As by rotation you create a center, the way we have seen and we explained in the structure of the soul of the man, in the brain of the man. Now we understand the center of the neutron is the same, and he has a center, where by the change of the fields in his environment, then the center divides, and the balance of the energy, what is left here, becomes the proton, and what is in the center is electron, with a higher power that it can carry on with its random motion. In fact, if we look, we understand the whole three are the same. In the life of the man, when the blood circulation, which is surrounding the brain of the man, changes through the misfunctioning or a stoppage of the heart, the environment changes and forces the release of the soul into a new dimension. So the creation of the soul and the division, or the, not the creation, the release of the soul from the central structure of the physicality of the man, the same way as a neutron division, which is electron and proton, is exactly the same. And then, as I explained, if we remember, some of us who did the test, creating deliberately a center core, a second core, and a third core, or we had a center core created in the middle, we have found some of our cores have disappeared, or we have lost them, we cannot find them. They have gone through the same process, where the field forces in the surrounding has forced the trajectory process. So in all three, the creation of the release of the solar man and the division of the neutron are in the same as with the cores, where we see the release of the inner core is all the same. Now we understand. But now once we understood this, and we can elevate the knowledge of the man, we can dictate on the direction of this trajectory, or on the direction of the release of what you call the electron. This gives man a new dimension in the world of physics, a new understanding, and this will be written in the books of physics as a new chapter, going further into the structure of the material, going further in the structure of the plasma technology. As I said, plasma technology is the next step after atomic and nuclear. Now we spoke with the fields, now we have to speak. When we say nuclear, it means we deal with the nucleus. Now we are going inside the nucleus, and we have parallels, so we can relate one to another. We can go from macro to micro. We can go from the brain of the man into the neutron structure and the man-made system, which confirms and complies with the same rules and regulations in the space. This is what, as I said, will shock the world of nuclear physics. For the first time, not only we say neutron is a plasma, electron is a plasma, proton is a plasma, we can show the birth of proton and electron we can show how and where they are. In fact, it's the center itself which, due to the change in the surrounding, in the strength, gets released. And as it's released, trying to find a new balance, it creates a new life for itself. And this comes back to be the same. That's why we see not much change in the size of the electron, proton and neutron. Because it's the center which has changed, and now this in rotation, and the forces from this have to create a second process. And this will go on. It's the same as the creation of life on this planet and the universe.